May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be always acceptable to you, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. How do you read the words of Christ today? What sort of challenge do you hear him making? I hear one thing overwhelming and clear, one specific call to action. It's what I have come to call the gospel of inconvenience. And it's not a terribly subtle idea, and it doesn't take long to explain. Jesus seems to say that being loving to those who love you already is just too easy. Love those who love you, free pass. Do good to those who do good to you, that's a layup. Lend to people you know are going to pay you back, too easy. Or as he says, what credit is that to you? Rather, love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. In a word, Christ demands selflessness. I argue against those who believe these words of Jesus to be hyperbole. I don't think he's trying to set up an impossible standard. What I do believe is that Jesus wants his followers to create the deepest possible impact on the world by their willingness to go out of their way for the sake of others. And I believe that he thinks this sort of behavior could become a new standard for how people should treat each other. Jesus demands that in our works of charity, mercy, and justice, we do the hard thing, the inconvenient thing, the thing that takes us several steps out of our way, the thing that moves us beyond our established borders and comfort zones, the thing that stretches us or that makes us squirm a little. And this, he argues, is the path to freedom, a life free from judgment, condemnation, and grudge. Only think about how hard it is to live this way. After all, our culture runs on the foundational concept of convenience. We're just wired for it. We have it handed on to us, taught as a good value, and then we pass it along as well. We're trained to naturally gravitate in that direction. It's entirely within our nature to want to save ourselves money, time, and trouble. It's only practical. When pondering an action, plan, or idea, most of the time we instinctively move toward whatever is closest, whatever is most affordable, whatever is most expedient, whatever gets us between 2 points on a map the fastest, whatever achieves our aim with the least amount of friction or exhaustion, with as few distractions along the way as we can possibly manage. Again, it's just being sensible, right? But we can't afford for this point of view to become totalizing in matters of faith. When it comes to people, we have to be open to the gospel of inconvenience. What Jesus does here is revolutionary. He reframes the concept of common sense action and thought, and he applies his ethics to compel us beyond whatever is merely convenient, propelling us into the far more interesting question of how to love those who at first seem to us fundamentally unlovable. His law is to love those different from us specifically, and if we pay heed, it is sure to take us well beyond our established borders. Call it Christian adventure. And really, is there any other way to characterize the love and actions of a God who would willingly do what Jesus does? Isn't his life the very definition of going out of one's way for the sake of another? To give the world the Son, that whoever would believe in him might not perish, but have everlasting life. Love takes no shortcuts. And so he compels us to love, give, forgive, and to not condemn, not only the ones that you like, but quite specifically the ones you don't. I can't think of a better or more relevant word this morning to a society that is divided among itself, where we actively teach our children derision, suspicion, retribution, and even hate in the face of those we find it easy to despise. By his life, and today through his words, Jesus begs us to stretch into another way of being, and no doubt we're the better for it.